Congressman James Walkinshaw, Democrat of Virginia, serves on the Oversight Committee. He questioned both Hillary and Bill Clinton in their depositions, and he joins me now. Congressman, I wonder if you can give us a little color from inside the room today.
Well, look, we had two depositions over the course of the last 2 days, and, you know, Secretary Clinton's deposition I found to be unserious, unproductive. President Clinton's deposition today was serious and I think productive. There's no reason that Secretary Clinton should have been deposed. She had nothing to do with Epstein. President Clinton did, and he was open and answered questions fully for 6 hours today. The questions he answered, the responses he gave were, in my view, consistent with other things that are in the public record, including the files. We're going to go back and review the transcripts to ensure that that's the case, but I think it was a productive session today with President Clinton.
That's interesting to hear you say that. I mean, I think the position that a lot of people have, you know, there's been this sort of strange thing where it's very evident the Trump administration is like, oh, what about Bill Clinton? I think most people say, yeah, sure, he should sit down and answer questions, and that sounds like that's what he did today.
That's right, absolutely. And look, you know, the question that I've had for everybody who had a significant relationship or a relationship with Epstein is, what, if anything, did you know about the crimes, and when did you know it? And President Clinton answered tough questions about that today. Quite frankly, I think the questions from us Democrats were tougher than the questions from our Republican colleagues, but he answered them all openly and in great detail. And I think the question for us moving forward is, now that we've deposed one former president or one president, when will we get to sit down and depose the current president, President Trump?
I mean, before we get there, let's talk about Howard Lutnick, because that seems like more of a proximate possibility. Nancy Mace suggested she supports it. Ro Khanna, as I just said, suggested maybe their votes are there. Is your sense that there might be the votes on the committee for that?
I think there will be. And look, what you showed a few minutes ago, I think, demonstrates the importance of getting folks under oath. You know, Howard Lutnick on that podcast, I guess it was, felt completely free to spin a complete and utter fabricated story related to his relationship with Epstein. When he was under oath in front of the Senate, he had to fess up and tell, hopefully, something approximating the truth. President Trump has lied. We know he has lied about his relationship, the extent of it with Epstein, because he hasn't been under oath. He needs to get under oath and answer those questions. So does Howard Lutnick. We've got to get them under oath and answer all the questions. We've done that with both Clintons. Now we need to do that with Trump and folks surrounding him like Howard Lutnick.
Nancy Mace, in that tape we played earlier, says that he doesn't need to talk because he's been exonerated by the victims, by the survivors of Jeffrey Epstein. I have to say, I found that a pretty distasteful statement, but I'm curious your reaction to it.
Yeah, so my guest for the State of the Union was Jess Michaels, one of the survivors, was raped by Jeffrey Epstein, and she put out a very powerful statement this evening clearing that up. So for Congresswoman Mace, we can clear that up for you. The survivors have not exonerated President Trump. No one has exonerated President Trump. And I think this is an important point. Nobody is exonerated yet. Even President Clinton, who I think has been consistent in his stories, but nobody's exonerated until all the files are released and all of the illegal redactions are unredacted and we pursue all of the information that exists. Nobody is exonerated, certainly not President Trump, who has been dishonest with the American people about his relationship with Epstein.
Well, that brings me to this question of these missing files. I mean, I got to say, I went back and read, I reread what's called the 302. That's a kind of standard form the FBI does when they interview witnesses, and they sort of write down the characterization, the kind of narrative of what that witness says. And I reread the 302 of the individual in question who had an allegation against Jeffrey Epstein. It's profoundly upsetting. Now, again, we have no independent verification or corroboration of the set of claims there against Jeffrey Epstein. We just have one person's account. She gave it to the FBI. It may be that in subsequent interviews, there are things that actually show that Donald Trump couldn't have possibly been in the place that she says he was, or that things that don't match up, right? Like, you can ferret it out. It just seems crazy to me that thing is still being hidden. Is there any progress on it being made public as the law requires?
Well, we're going to continue to fight and push for that. And I think this is an important point, too. Look, the crimes that were committed here by Epstein, at least, and perhaps others, are so heinous that I would never say the cover-up is worse than the crime. But the cover-up is a crime here. And President Trump and others in the Trump administration are going to need to testify under oath about this cover-up. There is no legal justification for those documents that you refer to be redacted. There are illegal redactions throughout the files. There are 3 million files still being withheld. Whether the Trump administration likes it or not, or whether they think it might be embarrassing to President Trump to fully release the files, the law that he signed requires it. It must happen. And those who are preventing it from happening will have to testify to that under oath, and they will be held accountable for it.
Congressman James Walkinshaw, thank you very much.
Thank you.